Hi, Minder.
Hi, Nikki.
We're back again, as promised. The day before this goes live.
It's like 7 p.m. the day before because we were supposed to do it earlier today, but I told Nikki, I'm like, I can't. I don't want to.
Yeah. It's fine.
The executive function is not existent for me right now. And I told her, I watched Thunderbolts yesterday, and I won't spoil anything, but let's just say there's like extenuating circumstances that I was very surprised that this movie made me cry. It was a very good movie, but there's just a scene in it that I'm like, oh, this hit me hard. No me gusta. I don't want to feel these feelings right now. So that's where I'm at. So, anyways, hi, we're a podcast. Oh wait, your volume, your audio's not there anymore.
Ha! Because I muted myself.
Oh, there you go.
Trying to go right into my intro, my mic's muted. That's all right. Fuck it. It's live. We're keeping it in. We're doing it live. Anyway, yes, we are a podcast, and we are two neurodivergent best friends naveling.
Man, see, we're with it today.
Traveling the neuroverse together.
I think we're trying to say navigating and traveling at the same time.
Yeah. Because we're living in a neurotypical world, we are not neurotypical girls. Okay, we got that out.
Who needs a take two? Not us.
Not us. Hold on. I have to tell my husband to tell my kid to stop jumping around in my living room because I will absolutely hear it on the mic. No matter what I do in this room, I will hear it on the mic. I'm no longer recliner recording because my hips can't handle it anymore. My hips don't lie. And they're telling me it's time to get the fuck out the recliner. So yeah. That's where we're at. We're back in the office.
Your hips are like, we're not lying. We're screaming, okay? Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Awkward silence.
Finish that text. Okay. So, anyway. Hi, we're here. It is Amanda's turn to talk at us and teach us some things today. So, without further ado, people collectively who speak French screaming at their whatever's right now that is around them, telling us to stop being stupid. What are we talking about?
So this is basically what we discussed last episode, our May the 4th be with you episode, that we're kind of going along on a schedule, and so we're starting with we're every week is going to be kind of like a different type of episode. So for this week we're doing a comorbidities, and I could have gone, I won't say the easy route of picking depression or anxiety, because we'll probably touch on it at some point, but we've already kind of talked about it before. Basically, we're trying to get into comorbidities of neurodivergency. In our experience, that would be autism and ADHD. And so I wanted to see if there's a link between either autism or ADHD and PCOS, which is Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which I was diagnosed with it at 17. And you were diagnosed with it as well, right?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine was later. Mine was 20? No, because it was after Nick was born. So I was 20. It was right when I was first with Jordan. I'd have been 24.
Mm-hmm.
About 24 when I was diagnosed.
Yeah. So basically, I don't remember why this popped in my head. I think it's because it's something that we both have. And then we're both diagnosed ADHD and both self-diagnosed autistic. So I wanted to see if there was just a link or if it's just a coincidence. And actually there are some studies in articles saying that there actually might be a link, like both with women with autism and or ADHD have a higher chance of having PCOS, or women with PCOS have a higher chance of being autistic, that type of thing. Or like a couple of the studies I saw were mothers with PCOS have a higher chance of having a child with autism or ADHD.
Really?
Yeah, and so it kind of explains it. It was kind of interesting, and I have, like, 4 links that I sent to Nikki, and I kind of took out the nitty-gritty, like, very dry, um, like, talk about it, uh, because a lot of it's, like, just numbers and, scientific terms that I have no business discussing, and I wouldn't be able to talk about verbatim. I may have done well in science, but scientific studies are not my strong suit, And
Right, right.
so I kind of
We're
just
not
took like
scientists.
no, I kind of just took like the abstracts, like the brief talks about the studies and like the conclusions of the studies. And I will say, like, there's one article that I wanted to include that kind of talks about, like, references the study, like the main study I was looking at. And even then, like, that article was like, well, it's still like kind of unclear. So I'm not saying this is like a direct, um, like a for sure comorbidity. It's just, I found it interesting that there have been studies that show that women with PCOS, basically, you have, like, women with PCOS have a higher chance of being autistic than women without PCOS.
Okay,
So, so
interesting.
yeah, and so and once you read about it, it's like, oh, that kind of makes sense. So, if you don't know what PCOS is, like I said, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's a health condition, and I'm reading this from this one article that is kind of like on the fence of what this could be, which is autismparentingmagazine.com. And
Got it.
they explain that health condition, like PCOS, is a health condition that affects a woman's hormonal levels. The condition, which affects millions of women of reproductive age, is also sometimes referred to as Stein-Leventhal syndrome. It is characterized by the ovaries producing an abnormal amount of hormones related to male reproductive health and traits, referred to as androgens. The name polycystic ovarian syndrome originally came about to describe small cysts in the ovaries, but it's now realized that polycystic ovaries actually have a high follicle number, with the follicles resembling cysts. So basically, like I said, this is something I was diagnosed with at 17. I was taking medicine for it. I think it was called like glucophage, which I think is also used to treat. I want to say used to treat diabetes. I want to say, like, it's been years since I've taken it. It's
Yeah, they
I'm
usually give
35 now.
you that or metformin. They gave
Yeah.
me metformin at first.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I personally don't have diabetes. I'm not even pre-diabetic, at this point in time. As far as I'm aware, I've never had issues with sugar levels. So I think at the time, like, I stopped taking it not that long after they prescribed it to me, because it did not make me feel good. Because I think they kind of just not necessarily assume that, like, women with PCOS have diabetes, but I think because it's used to also treat diabetes, it did not make me feel good. um like, it just lowered my glucose levels way too low, and it just made me feel like shit, basically.
Samesies.
Yeah.
I
So
actually went to the hospital for that.
yeah.
My
So
blood sugar got too low.
yeah, and so, because I get it from my mom. My mom also has low blood sugar. I don't think she has PCOS. She has lupus, which is genetic, and so I could possibly have lupus, but I've never been tested for it. Um, but anyway, so in terms of like the research and the link between PCOS and autism, this is still from that autismparentingmagazine.com. It said, going by the results of a UK-based study called Cherskoff et al. From 2018, which I will mention, which I will go further into from another article, like from nature.com. It seems that there is indeed association between PCOS and autism. The study found that autistic women in the UK have an almost twofold increase in the risk for PCOS. The study also found that women with PCOS had a 35% greater chance of having firstborn children with autism. So, I
Well, damn.
know. So, okay. So, I didn't really take much more out of that article. They kind of just, their whole thing was, like, I don't think that they were taking it as like a, like, well, we're not taking this as like a, that one correlates to the other. Basically, like, they have one section that says reading between the links. It said, when summarizing current research, the evidence strongly suggests a link between PCOS and autism. Women with PCOS are more likely to have an autistic child, and they're more likely to have autism spectrum disorder. But it said, lastly, it's vital to note the conclusion of the study mentioned above. The authors emphasized that the study findings are suggestive of the fact that autism in children and women with PCOS is still very rare. And that, like, it's not saying like PCOS causes autism. It's just kind of like a correlation between the two. So that's kind of like where I'm getting at from the bit of research that I did. And so this is kind of like a learn along with me type of thing. But I told Nikki, I said, I kind of just don't want to seem like I'm bumbling through the articles. I want it to be like one step above the learn along with me that we sometimes do. So to get further into that Cherskov study, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, it's CHERSKOV, Cherskov or Cherskov. I found this on nature.com. Basically, the concept is elevated levels of prenatal testosterone may increase the risk for autism spectrum conditions, or autism, given that PCOS is also associated with elevated prenatal testosterone and its precursor, sex steroids. A hypothesis from the prenatal sex steroid theory is that women with PCOS should have elevated autistic traits and a higher rate of autism among their children. They used electronic health records obtained from the Clinical Practice Research Data Link, or CPRD, in the UK between 1990 and 2014 and conducted 3 case-controlled studies. So basically, they're trying to find a link. Like, they think that the link between like autism and PCOS is the like elevated testosterone seen in both, which also might explain why, like, you know how it's just a tried and true statement of boys are always going to be more diagnosed with autism than girls. Like, it's just like they try to, like, it's you see boys are more likely to be diagnosed like with autism because they just tend to look for it more in boys, and I'm wondering if that's the like testosterone link. So the introduction was that PCOS is defined by hyperandrogenism with ovulatory dysfunction and/or ovarian cysts. The Independent Association of Prenatal Androgens with PCOS suggests predictions from the prenatal sex steroid theory of autism. Women with PCOS should have a higher rate of autistic traits and a higher rate of autism among their children. Basically, and they said they fall into 2 categories: those that investigated these traits in women with autism, and those that investigated autistic traits in women with PCOS. In the first category, self-report of reproductive and sex steroid-related symptoms suggests an increase of these symptoms in women with autism, and women with autism also have increased levels of androstenedione, which is an adrenal androgen. See, like I said, not a scientist.
Words are hard. It's okay.
Yes. And in the second category, women with PCOS score higher on measures of autistic traits, as do their daughters, but not their sons. A recent population study in Sweden found a significantly increased risk of autism in children with from mothers with PCOS. So basically, they did 3 studies. So, like, study 1, they examined the risk of PCOS in women with autism compared to those without autism. And they found that a significantly higher percentage of women with autism were diagnosed with PCOS than the controls. So basically before I get into, like, okay, so basically they took like 40 women, I think 40 women that were diagnosed with PCOS, and then like had them take the like autism quotient test, and then they had 40 women not diagnosed with that PCOS, like don't have any like issues related to PCOS, and I also had them take the autism quotient test. So that's where these studies come from. So like I said, study 1, they found that women with autism were also more likely to have any of the 3 core clinical signs or symptoms of PCOS, and diabetes was more prevalent in the autism group compared to with the controls, as was depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia-related conditions. Then study 2, they examined the risk of autism in women with PCOS compared to those without PCOS. Autism was almost 2 times more prevalent in PCOS cases than in the controls. Compared with controls, PCOS cases also had an increased prevalence of diabetes and obesity, and they're more likely to have depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia-related conditions, which persisted with adjustment for comorbid psychiatric conditions. Adjustment for these conditions in the model attenuated the increased odds for autism in PCOS cases, although the trend was still present. And in the final study, they examined the risk of autism in firstborn children of mothers with PCOS compared to firstborn children of mothers without PCOS. And then in the unadjusted model, mothers with PCOS had higher odds of having a child with autism than did the controls. So, which I found like interesting. So, obviously, we still don't know for sure like where autism comes from, and like I said, this is not saying that PCOS causes autism, because you can have autism without having PCOS and vice versa. It's more of the how the like the hormones, how like can affect the rate of autism in someone, right? So
Yeah.
what do you think about that?
I think it's very fucking interesting, considering I am a woman who was diagnosed with PCOS and have a firstborn son who's autistic and also a secondborn son who's autistic, and then later found out I was also autistic. So there's that. But again, we definitely just want to stress correlation does not equal causation here.
Yeah.
And I don't even think these scientific studies are saying that. They're saying research is still out. Like the jury's still out on this. This is still very new studies. But it sounds to me like it has something to do with, like you said, the hormones and the way that those can interact with the body during development and all of that good shit. Maybe the quality or the type of, egg that drops. Like, I don't know if there's a correlation between the quality of eggs that someone with PCOS produces versus someone who does not have PCOS, or if that has anything to do with it, or if those eggs are genetically different somehow because of that condition. But that's why I think further study would have to definitely be done, because you'd have to take it even deeper. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
down to like what was the condition of the mother's, reproductive health at that time.
Yeah.
But
The studies definitely get further into that. Like they explain more. Like they took the 40 women between the ages of 18 and 35. Like I said, they screened them for different traits and health issues. And so I didn't want to get like too nitty gritty, and I will talk more about it. Actually, now that I look at it, I'm sorry, the 40 women part, which was not part of that study, it was part of another study, which I have on another article. I think I was combining the two. I don't remember how many they were, what the control was for the UK study, but there was like another study in Turkey where they took 40 women between the ages of 18 and 35 with PCOS and 40 women without PCOS and like compared them, which, to be fair, like 40 is a small sample size, but it's just an interesting like sample group.
right.
And that that UK study I found also mentioned in this one website. It's like cardiff.ac.uk, and it was I don't have much from that article, just kind of like backing up, just saying that, kind of bring in the ADHD thing. It says like women with PCOS are prone to mental health disorders, and their children face an increased risk developing ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. And according to a new study by research at Cardiff University's Neuroscience and Mental Health Research Institute, so just kind of backing up that other study in the UK. It said children born to mothers with PCOS were also found to be at greater risk of developing ADHD and autism. And these findings suggest women with PCOS should be screened for mental health disorders to ensure early diagnosis of treatment and ultimately improve their quality of life. So it's just kind of bringing that into it. But
Yeah, I'm glad the consensus was in order to improve their quality of life instead of in
yeah,
order to put them in a database.
yeah, right. Or to put them in a like a mental institute, right? Like,
Right.
because back in the day they would have
Yeah.
just lobotomized them, right? Like,
Right.
oh, that woman is sad. We'll just cut out part of her brain and they'll make her feel better, right?
Right.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
and so there was another one. This is from ScienceDirect.com. This is from 2012, and so I think you can kind of tell by kind of like the language that they use. But so, like, okay, so to start off, they say like autism spectrum conditions (ASC). I'm just gonna call it autism. Is characterized by impairments in reciprocal social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, and imaginative play, and by strong repetitive behavior and narrow interests. With more males than females receiving a diagnosis, the androgen theory of autism proposes that ASC are in part due to elevated fetal testosterone levels, which are inversely correlated with social and language development and positively correlated with autism related behaviors. Um, it says there's evidence that females with autism and females with PCOS are hyper masculinized and less feminized in several aspects of behavior and cognition. A recent study found that girls with autism did not show the female typical play preferences, and women with autism reported higher rates of tomboyism in childhood. Women with PCOS also reported less feminine childhood behavior and less gender typical behavior. Additionally, females with autism tend to display a hypermasculine profile on many cognitive tasks, and women with PCOS demonstrated worse performance on female favoring cognitive tasks than the healthy women, quote unquote healthy women, right?
That
So,
seems like it's a little bit
yeah, I'm like, that's why I'm
strange.
like, that's why I wanted to point out, like, this is from 2012. Just want to point
Yeah.
this out. Um,
Seems a little
because
RFK.
we both know, and I think a lot of our listener knows that like there's a lot of social constructs when it comes to like when you call a girl a tomboy, like just
Right.
because a girl likes to climb trees or play with trucks, then she's a tomboy instead of just a child playing, or like saying a boy playing with dolls is being feminine. It's like, or he's just a boy playing with a human, like a representation of a human figure, and possibly maybe showing signs that he might be a good father. You know, who knows?
Right.
But so that's why I want to point out the date of the article.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely sounds its age. We'll put it that way.
so basically, in this present study, they compared the autistic traits in women with PCOS and healthy controls. So 41 with PCOS and 41 without it. Since prenatal androgens were implicated in the genesis of PCOS and association between fetal testosterone and autistic traits was suggested, they predicted that women with PCOS would have more autistic traits than typical women. So basically, their study procedure was they took 40 women between the ages of 18 and 35 with PCOS and recruited them from the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Miram Faculty of Medicine in Konya, Turkey. PCOS diagnosis was based on the Rotterdam diagnosis criteria, so they were officially like medically diagnosed with this. For comparison, they took 40 healthy age and BMI matched women between the ages of 18 and 35 who had regular menses, and they were recruited from the general population. Women with a history of irregular menstrual cycles, acne, or excessive hair growth, or those using oral contraceptives were excluded. So basically, they just wanted no chance that these women like could have PCOS. So they kind of just took all the symptoms. Like, you can't have these
For the
symptoms.
control group.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, all other inclusion and exclusion criteria for the PCOS group were also applied to the selection of the control group. So before they entered the study, a physical examination was performed by the same physician on all women in the Faculty of Medicine. Weight and height were measured, and BMI was calculated. All participants were then invited to complete the autism spectrum quotient. So in conclusion, the study found that women with PCOS had an increased number of autistic traits, together with the evidence that prenatal androgen levels are associated with autistic traits, and that higher rates of PCOS and other androgen-related conditions are reported in women with autism. Their new finding confirms that prenatal exposure to high levels of androgen may be involved in development of autism. Further studies are needed to investigate the association between PCOS and autism. So basically, they're like, well, these women with these like higher levels of testosterone also like just had increased risk of autism. Connection, maybe, possibly.
Right.
And
Which,
yeah.
I mean, it's a good road to explore, right? Like, I think, especially if we apply that to today's climate, where there seems to be a lot of focus, which we're not getting into in this episode, but there's a lot of focus on the autistic community right now. In, I feel, an incorrect direction. But I think the misconception of the general consensus in the community that is against the kind of things that are going on right now is that we are against the research aspect of it, or that we're against finding out why it happens. I don't think that's the case, or at least it's not for me. I think any amount of research and development in being able to understand autism better, and being able to give people who are autistic better quality of life, better resources, better care, more understanding, is nothing but good, right? Like, you can't get any bad from that.
Right.
Like, the search for knowledge for those reasons cannot come up with bad intentions. It just can't, right? Like, but when you're approaching it from the aspect of this is a disease to be cured, then we have problems, right? Like, I don't want to hear your research about it being a disease to be cured. And I think the way that these studies come out and say, like, hey, this seems to be a correlation that we are seeing, right?
Think
We're
of like a Venn
furthering this
diagram.
study, right? This seems to be a common occurrence. It's, to me, seems to be pointing back towards the genetic route, right? Like, you are born this way. There's not something you can catch. You can't catch the tism, right? Like, you're born this way. And then it's like, okay, well, what if we could just get the world to agree on that, right? Then we can dig deeper into, okay, what is there an actual gene that causes this? Is there this? Is there that? Like, what things could we possibly be doing to improve our health and wellness and the quality of life for people in this community who all are already here, and for those who will come into the world autistic in the future, right? Like, that I think this stuff is interesting when you're talking about it, because it just points me back towards the you're born this way narrative.
It's also the fact of they think that, like, one, they think autism just kind of just sprout up in the past, say, 30 years or so. Like, all people, they're like, well, there's no people, like, I don't know, I can't name anyone like that's autistic. I'm like, okay, you know how like your uncle Terry like had trains, like a bunch of displays of trains that no one could touch, but had to be in all a certain order, and he only had certain silverware he liked to use and liked to eat the same meal, his meat and potatoes, every single night, and had a routine. You don't think there was a little bit of autism there?
And would get really pissed off if you did something outside of any of those things, or you touch something he didn't want you to touch, or whatever.
But it's just the fact that some people think that they come from the poke, since we can't say, the V word on here. They can't like come from a poke. To me, it's just baffling. It's kind of like the people that quote unquote discovered Mount Everest, or discovered a planet or a moon or a star, but then acting like it's acting like they didn't exist before that point. It's like, no, we just saw it at that point. We were able to see it. Like the whole, I don't know if this was caught before, the whole mammograms, the introduction of mammograms increasing the diagnosis of like breast cancer, but then thinking like breast cancer diagnosis was just jumped up astronomically, like in the mid 70s,
Right.
like after mammograms were introduced. It's like, no, breast cancer and all that existed. It's just we had no way of diagnosing it, like, or at least
Right.
properly diagnosing it. It's like, yeah, sure, some things are like getting worse, like, say like skin cancer. Like, I'm sure back then people got skin cancer too, but it just it is what it is. And
Right.
so this whole
As science evolves, we find more things and we're able to diagnose more things, and therefore there will be certain years where it looks like everybody was diagnosed with something, or there's a huge spike in diagnosis for something, and it's like, or a huge drop in diagnosis. You can't correlate that with the rise or fall of a certain thing. It's because the new technology came out and we're now able to diagnose the thing, right? Or we're understanding the thing better or whatever. And now that's going to correlate with higher rates of diagnosis of the thing because there's the technology to diagnose the thing now. Do you know what I mean? Or
and
the
so
understanding to diagnose the thing.
right, exactly. And so basically seeing these comorbidities of autism and and or like ADHD, it's interesting. It's kind of like almost like closing the gap. It's like, okay, so we see that women with PCOS are twice as likely to have autism than one without PCOS. So, and here's a possible reason why. So it's kind of like, okay, if we can find more comorbidities and find the link between that, it's like we kind of just get closer and closer to figuring out like where, like definitively where like autism comes from. Like, okay, say the general consensus is it's genetic. Okay, but we need to figure out how, like where, what gene is it on? What like is if it's on a certain gene, like then what's the criteria, like what hormones affect, like if it's like, okay,
Right.
so if it's on a certain gene, but you have to have certain hormone levels to affect it, or something happens, it just you kind of have like what activates the gene to present autism in somebody, that sort of
Right.
thing. So I just
Yeah.
found it interesting because I was like, I just want to see if PCOS is a comorbidity, and I'm not definitively saying it is. I just have like seeing those few studies talk about it, and there were several more articles. There was a lot more articles on like the NIH website that were heavily like so dry, just so dry, and so I didn't want to include those because they were just entire PhD thesis level like talking about it.
Boring.
Yeah. So, and I'm not about that life.
I don't
So
blame
you
you.
could, yeah, and there was more studies about women, like mothers with PCOS, having a higher chance of having children with autism, that sort of thing, and there was a lot more studies about that. So I kind of just wanted to keep it more concise, and so um to me, like for me personally, it kind of like makes sense because I have always had like more quote unquote masculine traits where I have like a deeper voice than most women. Um, I was the social constructs of like tomboy likes growing up, and even now, like I could not care less about like makeup or fashion that much. Like I'll wear dresses, I'll wear like cute clothes and stuff, but it's like it's one of those things I don't care about where I'm more of a guy in that way. And I understand that's not a gene thing. That's not like that's a
It's called a
gender thing, not a
preference.
sex thing. That's a gender thing, not a biological sex thing, right? And so it's to me it's just an interesting correlation that this thing that I've had like been diagnosed since 17, and something that I've been thinking about like my autism for the past few years. It's like the fact that there's like a correlation in and maybe there's a reason why is just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this was a great topic for our first one.
Hmm.
Um, do you have anything more to like add to your own like personal experience with PCOS? Do you want to talk about it? Or do you want to like sort of leave it along with the autism thing?
Well, like I said, I don't remember. I don't even remember why we went and um like I don't, like I said, this was like 18 years ago, and so like a whole adult life age ago. of
Yeah,
I
a
don't
whole
remember what.
time ago.
Yeah, I do not remember why we went in because I was still in high school, and I don't remember like what the reason was, like what symptoms I was having that made it. I don't know if it was like the heavy, like the regular periods or something, because I was on birth control and stuff to try to regulate it. And so I'm not sure if that's what brought it or the whole like, because I do get like, chin hairs and stuff. And all women get like little hairs on their face and everything. And everything. It's just, I felt like I got more than other girls. And so, and plus I was heavier. I was considered morbidly obese at 17, and so I think that was also probably a reason. I will say I've been lucky in the fact that I don't have. If I have a bunch of like cysts and everything, they don't necessarily. It's like cause me pain. Like I don't get that sort of issue. Um, like I haven't had like an MRI of that area in years and years and years, so I couldn't tell you if I do. And like it's not something we ever looked for. Um, so I think that's it. Like yeah, because it's like I said, we took glucophage, and that just made me feel like shit. Birth control made me
Yeah,
feel like shit, so I stopped taking both. And I can't say whether or not, because like PCOS is also like the leading cause for women being infertile. Couldn't tell you. Never tried to have a kid, so couldn't tell you if that makes me if that affects me in any way, because it's like I don't want kids, so couldn't tell you if this would ever prevent me from having them.
yeah. Obviously, I'm not infertile because I have two children. Well, technically, I am now because I don't have a uterus or a cervix. But I did have a hard time, like Jordan and I, like when I was diagnosed with it, I knew he really wanted kids, and I was told it would probably be really hard for me to have kids because, or any more kids because of how bad my ovaries had gotten. Um, like how bad they were when we found it. And so, like, I don't know if I ever even told you this, but like, we were basically trying, like,
Mm-hmm.
immediately. So, like, I knew I wanted at least another one. I knew he wanted one. So I was like, why not? What's another one? Right. I want one anyway. So let's go for it. Um, and it took, I think we tried for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like a year. No, it was like 8 months. It was like 8 months. And then I went into the doctor, told her what was going on. She was like, okay, that's on the short end of like what we would consider time to like intervene. But if you both really want a kid, I'll just go ahead and try it. We'll go ahead and try this or whatever. And it didn't like, I had to stop taking the metformin because it made me so sick. But it didn't take maybe like 3 or 4 more months after that,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to have a kid. So it must have not have been as bad as they told me it was. Um, but anyway, that was my experience with it. I did have to try the metformin for a little while, but I don't know that it was necessarily that I was really infertile. My most of my issue was my cysts. I did have like technically polycystic ovaries is like they look like little baby bumps all over the place, but I would get larger ones that would burst and cause me a lot of fucking pain. Um, so that's my experience and the weight issue. I've never been able to regulate my weight since ever since I started my period. So like which I think I was 14 when I started my period. And yeah, never was able to regulate. It was never regular, and then I could never like keep control of my weight after that unless I start for myself, which I don't recommend. 0 out of
Yeah.
10. Don't do that. Go to the doctor. Don't do that. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of my
It's like
little experience
it's like
with.
do as I say, not as I do. Okay.
Yeah. I still have my ovaries. When I did the hysterectomy, we elected to keep them because I'm still fairly young, and I didn't want to be pushed into menopause immediately, had there been something like seriously medically necessary for them to come out, I obviously take them out. I don't give a fuck. But my OBGYN did not seem to believe that there would be an issue leaving them. So, and I trusted him wholeheartedly. So I still have mine. And I get, I hurt every once in a while, but ever since that damn uterus went away, man, life's been great. Listen, I'm thankful for it because my 2 children grew in it, and that's great. But it has been so nice not having a uterus. They're just a problem when they don't work right. Okay. When they do not work right, they are an issue for your life. If you're not a uterus haver, please know that they are not all they're cracked up to be. And
breaking news when
stars.
Breaking news: when organs don't work right, it sucks. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? I've had an experience with 2 organ systems now having to leave my body. So yeah, they're not great when they stop functioning properly. So anyway, I think that's all we got on that then, yeah?
Yeah, so I think that was my contribution to this. Like I said, it's still like kind of like up in the air. It's interesting that it's like not necessarily like it's a comorbidity, like kind of like, depression, anxiety, all that, but it's just interesting that there's a link.
Yeah, I think this was a great topic. I think you did so well. And by the way, I didn't know what she was doing until we sat down. So, which I think is kind of cool. It's like a surprise. I have mine listed in there. Maybe I'll take them out. We'll just surprise each other each week.
Seen it. I haven't looked at it, so.
Okay, don't look, and I'll take it out. You won't see.
Yeah, because I literally right before we sat down, like right before we record. Yeah, right before we record, I just like copy pasted the links into the thing, and then I was like, okay, here we go.
All right, it's out. It's gone.
It's almost like a surprise. Surprise, bitch! Here's topic.
Yeah, so we surprise each other, which is cool. All right, cool. Well, I was able to find all those links, so thank you for that.
Yes.
We will make sure they're in the show notes. Actually, I was constructing the show notes while she was talking, just because I tend to forget to put the links in. So I'm like, if I don't do this right meow, I'm gonna forget because I have to get this put up.
And did you want to give a shout out now or in the fun and fuckery?
Let's do it now, just in case people don't follow us after the fun and fuckery. So we want to say a big, super duper loud and happy birthday to Micah.
Yes.
Friend of the show, friend in real life. And we are happy to have them in our lives. We met them through their partner, Ray, who was listening to the show. And we've just connected and hit it off. And we do regular hangouts now, even though they live in Denmark. Discord's a wonderful thing. So we get to hang out and play games. And
we're doing one this Friday. So
yeah, we're doing one Friday. And we really enjoy connecting with them. They're become really good friends. And so yeah, happy birthday, Micah.
Happy birthday.
All the love. We hope that it's a wonderful day.
Yep, millennial heart.
Millennial heart. You do all the nothing if that's what you want to do, and eat all of your favorite snacks.
Yes.
For us.
Do all your favorite activities.
I'm sure there's better snacks there than
less
like healthier snacks there.
Yes, less poisonous ones.
Yeah, apparently less poisonous ones. Anyway, happy birthday to Micah. If you comment on things, drop a comment. You can comment on Spotify now. I don't know if people know that. Drop a comment, happy birthday, Micah, in Spotify. Yeah.
Or on our Facebook. Or just anywhere.
Yeah, or on our Facebook. Yeah, anywhere that you can find us. We're trying to be over on Facebook now. I'll probably do a post over there too on the day. So anyone can say happy birthday, Micah. We would really love that. Happy birthday, Micah!
Happy birthday, Micah!
Love you. All right. So let's hit the fun and fuckery now. We have a proper Jeremy update and a Mad Lib. So
double whammy today.
Yeah. So stick around if you want to hear that. Here we go. Blast it all, my mouse died.
Here we are.
We're here. We made it to the other side with a dead mouse. So, anyway, let's start with the Jeremy update, and we'll end on the Mad Lib. Sound like fun?
Sure. And
okay.
It sounds like fuckery.
So, it sounds like fuckery. So, all right. So, listen, I got a lot wrong on the 4th. So, let's and
she had to properly get everything situated so she could give a good update for everything.
Yeah, and I got some things wrong. Also, I decided to shake the Etch-a-Sketch and start over. I acquired some additional things for The Sims, and I wanted to sort of retool the houses and the characters, and I'm like, instead of just doing that and bulldozing shit, I'm just gonna start the fuck over. So I started everyone over from scratch. So this is what we have for you. The many sensational adventures of the Fellowship of Jeremy.
The Chronicles of Jeremy and their Fellowship, and just add more colons and dashes and we'll get the entire title in there somehow.
It would only be right. You know what I mean? It would only be right. So okay, we're gonna start with Jeremy. If anyone cares, we can probably make these character sheets like available to look at if anyone cares. But we can get into that later. So Jeremy Gray is his name. We decided that because Jeremy was just the psychic cat in the story, he never had a last name, that when him and Velvet got married, he took Velvet's last name because Velvet, if you can remember, was from the House of Gray, right? So her last name was Gray. So he's now Jeremy Gray. How progressive. We love to see it.
We love to see a male feminist.
Yeah. So kind of the layout of the character sheet, we did character, partner, sexuality, children, career, aspiration, traits, storyline, notes, and skills. So the skills are not fully done for them because I just sort of cheat every one of them and max them all out. So just assume that at some point they're going to have all the skills they're supposed to have. So we decided Jeremy is a straight white man, straight white ginger. He was a red orange cat in the thing, so he is straight white male. They have so many fucking kids. So many fucking kids.
They're kind of horn dogs, you know?
Yeah, they don't stop, man. They don't ever stop. And it's let's just say their oldest walked in on him at one point and it was not cute. It was not cute. I did not know, like, because the way I had the house set up, it was really difficult to like keep track of everyone in the house. And they went off to do their thing and I wasn't paying attention. And the next thing I know, I get this pop-up on the screen where it's like, Limerick is mortified. She walked in and saw something she wasn't supposed to see. And I was like, oh shit. It's a kid, not a kid walking in on him in a fucking game. But anyway. So yeah, children between him and Velvet are Limerick Lake. Now, okay, let me back up. All these children are named after fabrics because Velvet is a fabric. So we
gotta do the stereotypical like millennials naming their children awful things. Like
right.
That's like a thing. Like millennials and Gen Z are naming their children really stupid things. So we had to kind of like go with that.
Right. So all these kids are named after fabric. Okay. So we have the oldest, who's now a teenager, which is Limerick Lace. We have Suede, which is, I guess, whatever child is characterized in the game. Zephyr, who is a toddler. And then we have the triplets. So we have one boy and two girls. So they're not identical because there's a pee-pee in amongst the vaginas. So they can't be identical. Okay. People get that mixed up a lot, I've heard. So
we can't have identical twins that are a boy and a girl. That doesn't make sense. How can they be identical then?
Right. They couldn't have come from the same place. Same uterus, but not the same egg. Anyway, so Denim is the boy. Jersey is one of the girls, and Linen is one of the girls. So we have 3 girls, 3 boys. Solid split. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why I did this. Difficult. Not gonna lie. The fucking triplets are ridiculous. Why I thought this was a good idea instead of just letting them have one at a fucking time and let them get to like kid age before I let them have another one is batshit bananas of me because I was trying to like actually play them and none of one baby would go to sleep and the next one would wake up and fucking scream and then Jeremy would be off fucking off doing something and I'd have to call the oldest kid in there, parentify her and be like, come fix this fucking child. And then I'd have one on my back screaming and one in the bed screaming and I'm like, Jesus H tap dancing Christ, what did I do to myself? Like,
So kudos to any parents of multiples, you know?
right. So listen, this is real. Sims is real life, okay? Because I can only imagine that that's what it's like to have triplets. I had two kids that were a toddler and a baby at one time, and I was like, nope, I can't. I'm done. Thank you. I've had enough. Um, just playing a game where you have to take care of 3
A game
infants.
you can pause, by the
A
way.
game you can pause and
And
cheat
cheat
their
at.
needs.
Like
Yeah.
you can age the kids up at any time you want.
I'm gonna have to, but I'm trying not to like push this along too far. I want to like drag it out some, but I might fucking do. I don't know. I think I might have to. I can't handle this. The babies are too much. It's too much. It's cute when there's one. When there's 3 at once, it's not cute anymore. Anyway, moving on. Um, Jeremy has retired from adventuring.
Mhm.
Okay, he is a writer now.
Mm.
So he is like best-selling author, New York Times bestseller. He's making the fat cash selling his stories. And what are they called? The Chronicles of Jeremy, right?
Love it.
So he now writes and sells the Chronicles of Jeremy, detailing all the crazy adventures of him and his 4 friends, depicted, though not as humans, but as animals, because
Mm.
that's the original lore. So
Yeah, because
now
you can also
Jeremy
have
the
like kids
human,
books. You can have kids books too
yes,
then.
yes, I'm sure it's coming. Okay. So his aspiration is big happy family. Okay.
Mhm. Well,
He
he's
wants
achieved
to have
that.
a he's achieved it. God bless him. He's achieved it. He has stayed keeping her knocked up. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
they are
stayed keeping her
fertile.
knocked up.
They
Yeah.
are
Listen,
fertile.
they were cats in the original story. So I was thinking a good litter, right? And then they're done. I'm going to turn off their baby makers. They can't do it no more. I draw the line at 6. We're done. No more kids. I'm turning their baby makers off.
Velvet has
So,
closed her legs, okay? She's like, "No more."
yes, close the factory. No, she ain't closing her legs.
Yeah,
Their
she's making him
romance
get a
is steamy.
vasectomy. He's getting a
Yeah,
vasectomy.
yeah, we're turning his baby maker off. So, anyway, there in this version of the Sims that I have like the magical one of the magical ones. So you can pick an occult for them, and I was like, duh, I'm gonna do that because original storyline. Hello. So Jeremy's a spellcaster, so
Mhm.
he can do the magic in this story.
I think you
And
can get
he
like a crystal ball because he was a psychic cat. I think there is a crystal ball that you can get.
oh shit, I need to find it. Okay, I'll have to find it, put it in the world. So spellcaster, he uh uses this magic to help persuade folks to read his shit. He uses it to his advantage, okay? He's a crafty little shit. All right?
He's basically better Lockhart from Harry Potter, the teacher, the second from the
Right.
second movie, Defense Against Dark Arts teacher that like
Yes.
he didn't like he stole other people's stories. Like Jeremy's not stealing his stories; he's just making people read his books.
Right. Right. Okay. So, that's Jeremy, okay? Velvet, we'll move on to Velvet next because I have to discuss the kid dynamic. So in this storyline, Velvet is a vampire. Okay. Because when I originally made her character, I was thinking black cat, she's a goth, okay?
Yeah.
And let's just be real. I want to be her,
Mhm.
okay? She is life goals. She's like the person that I wish I could be every single day in my life, is how I created Velvet.
Mhm.
So, she's bi, which, hello, again, creating her after me, so here we are. Same kids, except for not in this document because I forgot to change it. Same kids as obviously Jeremy because they belong to them. And she decided to be a stay-at-home mom. She's also retired from adventuring. She don't want no part of it no more. She's tired. Bitch is tired, okay?
Yeah.
She's been drug all around the world by the Glamour Guild and she's had about enough. She just wants to be home, pop out a million kids, and enjoy her family. Okay, so that's what she's doing. So her aspiration is super parent. Okay. And boy, she is doing it. Okay. Her traits are, oh, I forgot to tell you Jeremy's traits, but her traits are romantically reserved because if you remember, she wanted jack shit to do with Jeremy at the beginning. Uh, Adventurous, family oriented, and then I put vampire for her occult.
Mhm.
Okay, so quickly the kid dynamic. All right. So because Jeremy's a spellcaster and Velvet's a vampire, we have to somehow represent this in the children. Okay. So
I feel like
I
Zephyr should be
decided,
a vampire because that sounds like a vampire name.
just wait, girl, you're going to be
Yeah.
happy about it. I decided all the boys in their line are vampires and all the girls are spellcasters. Okay. So Limerick is a spellcaster and Jersey and Linen are all spellcasters. All the girls have are gingers.
Mhm.
Well, no, I think no, I didn't. I decided not to do that. Never mind. They're not gingers. Ignore that. Um. Anyway, so all the girls are spellcasters. The reason why I picked all the girls to be the spellcasters is because in like the witchy lore, okay, multiples are like seen as super powerful, especially identical twins,
Like
right? And
Twitches.
then the acolyte, right? Like the acolyte thing, right?
Twitches.
So
Like the Tien
witches,
Tamara Maori.
right?
Twitches.
Right. So listen, it's a thing in witchy lore that multiples are super strong. So the girls are spellcasters. And then the boys are all vampires. So I just think it was fun to like split it up that way.
It's basically like I know you haven't seen it, but there's this one show and book series called Discovery of Witches, and the girl in
Ooh,
the show is a witch and the guy is a vampire.
cool. I need to watch this now.
It's on Netflix, I think. I can give you my login. I mean,
I think we have
give
Netflix
you
actually.
yeah. But yeah, because it was on like some other like random streaming service, but then they put all the seasons on Netflix, and it's so good. I watched all 3 seasons.
Okay, yeah, I'm down for it. All right, moving on. Trying to go in after the Jeremy Velvet situation because obviously Velvet showed up last, but they're linked, so I had to explain it. Moving on, sympathy.
Do you want
Okay.
to like tease just Jeremy and Velvet for this one, and then talk about the other ones in another fun and fuckery, or do you want to do all of them now?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, let's do that. Let's split them up. Yeah, let's split them up. That's a good idea. Okay, so one more note on the Gray family. They you can only have 8 people in a house in Sims, okay? So I had to figure out how to get an extra person in this house. So I figured out that you can create rental units inside a house.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a rental room inside the house and I plugged in Queen Violet, Velvet's mom. So
She's like
Queen
this.
Violet,
She has her mother-in-law suite.
yes. So Queen Violet has her own room with her own bathroom and a beautiful bed. And she is, I gave her the career of like babysitter, but then maxed her all the way out to like daycare admin or whatever so that she would be happy about it. Made her like kid oriented. Like I sculpted her character to be like kid oriented. And then I made all of the rooms in the house shared rooms except for Jeremy and Velvet's room and Limerick's room, so that she'll be able to go in like the kids' rooms and like help with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's working. She will show up randomly and just start picking up kids and doing things with them and cleaning floors and whatever's. So we love Queen Velvet. Thank you for that, because I think Violet would probably shave all her hair off if she didn't have her mom there helping her. So that's their story right now. The triplets are still infants. Remember, we have a toddler, Zephyr. Suede's the child age, and then Limerick Lace, their oldest, is a teenager now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Jeremy and Velvet and all of their children. And we will next time we will get into sympathy,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a Mad Lib to do.
Yes.
And
Sympathy
I'm
and
hungry.
Binky and Finnegan and whatever.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, Ray and Micah will be entering the chat. Okay. We are bringing the pirates in. If you remember the pirates from like the last episode, we're bringing them in.
Yeah.
Okay. The liberators are coming. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Let's move on. You want words?
See them. You can't see them, but she showed me pictures of them, and they all look very cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out a way. We're eventually gonna like stream this at some point. I think work it into it, or if you guys actually want to see it, we'll just
like
put it
Fundy
up.
Fridays sometimes like shows her sim world and stuff. So
yeah, we'll make it a thing at some point. All right, you want words? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, we got a new Mad Lib. It's been a while, but we picked one. It's called Unicorns.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Called Unicorns, Mermaids, and Mad Libs. So we figured, since we're kind of getting back into the Jeremy thing and sympathies, like the whole fantasy stuff, that we'd kind of get into that. Okay, so from you, I need an adjective.
Dark.
Dark. It was a dark and stormy night.
A couple of these are choose your own adventure. Just whatever makes more sense. So
sure. Plural noun.
Greek tragedies. If it doesn't make sense, let me know.
I like it. It gets the whole like there are two wolves inside of you type of thing. Plural noun.
Fucky eyes. Which is what I call my eye condition. Fucky eyes.
Color.
Hot pink, which is the color of the pen I used to fill this out.
Number.
19. There's no reason.
There's no reason, just a number. Verb.
Okay, this is a choose your own adventure. You can choose cram, like cram it in there, or stuff, like stuff it in there.
Okay.
Whatever makes more sense or is funnier.
I'm gonna do pry. If that makes, because like it's kind of like similar, because it's asking for the opposite of those words. So
oh, fine, done.
Yeah,
done deal.
Type of liquid.
The blood of your enemies. Or of my enemies, whatever makes more sense.
Adjective.
Alluring.
Plural noun.
Townspeople.
Actually, this kind of makes sense. Number.
Okay. Either half of 1% or 0.5%, whatever you want to say, whatever sounds better.
Not percent. It's asking for the amount of degrees, so half a degree, I think.
Sure.
Because half a percent of a degree, I guess doesn't really make sense. Adjective.
Bulbous.
Bulbasaur. Noun.
King Charles. Because you mentioned it the other day.
Yeah. Silly word.
Giggle shits.
It's when you can't stop laughing while looking at memes on your phone on the toilet.
Yep.
A place.
Applebee's. Eating good in the neighborhood. They closed ours down. Because nobody goes there anymore.
I don't even. Ours is still around, I think, but I mean they've closed a bunch of other places. Adjective.
Festering.
Noun.
Hell.
Verb ending in ing.
You already know what it is.
Y'all know what we do.
I love that our first one back has a fucking in it.
Yes. Perfect. And then part of the body, plural.
Tits.
Tits. Okay.
Now let's see how terrible this is, because mine are always awful.
Okay, so this is... No, they're not. This is how to hatch a dragon egg. While most eggs need dark love and care for the Greek tragedies inside to survive, dragon eggs thrive on danger. In fact, the fucky eyes of hot pink dragons require a 19-foot drop in order to pry open. Eggs of the blood of your enemy's dragons depend on alluring lava from underwater townspeople to heat the shells to temperatures of 0.5 degree or more. Only then can the bulbous dragonettes inside finally hatch. But the King Charles of the skies, the giggle shit dragon of Applebee's. I can't.
The fuck? Ow!
Sorry, Your Majesty, or Your Highness, or whatever your honorific
Oh
is.
my god, why did that one break me?
Because
King
giggle
Charles
shit
in
is
the sky.
But the King Charles of the skies, the giggle shit dragon of Applebee's, is the most festering hell layer of them all. They have been spotted fucking into the tits of hungry predators hoping to be swallowed. Oh god. Oh no. Once they hatch, they cause quite a bellyache. The end.
Best one I've done in a long time.
I'm glad I didn't really read it, because I didn't really, I read, the word right after it, but I didn't read the sentence in context until then.
I'm crying. Oh, that was so good. The King Charles of the skies. Shit.
The giggle shit dragon of Applebee's.
Giggle shit dragon of Applebee's. My head hurts.
Now she has a bellyache.
Oh my god, I got the brain pain, coach. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to hit the brain pain. Oh god. Ow. Oh fucking hell, that was good. Oh my god. Okay, that was the best. I don't know. We topped that right out the gate.
Yeah. Is it downhill from here? Oh my god.
I fucking hope not. I hope this is just foreshadowing of what's to come. Us busting fucking veins laughing about this shit. Oh my god, I fucked my eyebrows up. I wiped all my eyebrows off. God. Okay, alright, well, I think we did that. It's all for now, folks. Let's hit a Tenzin.
We can't forget Julie.
Oh shit, yeah.
Julie, do the thing!
I'm afraid there are no more things to do.
That's right. We're done, like Julie said. There's no more things to do with me to go finish taking the rest of my eyebrows off and eat some spaghetti because I'm fucking hungry. But okay, We love you guys. I hope this was worth the wait.
Yeah. Good to be back? Question mark. And they're like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
good
they
to
should
be
have
back,
stayed
man.
gone. They should have stayed gone.
Good to be back. That was the best. Right out the fucking gate. I love it. All right. We love you. All the podcasty things are in the show notes. You know where to find us. Come harass us on Facebook. Send us an email that we forget to fucking check. We should be better about that. But yeah, send us an email. Get on Facebook. Say hello. And we will see y'all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.